Coronavirus. A coronavirus is one of a number of viruses that cause diseases in mammals and birds. In humans, the viruses cause respiratory infections, including the common cold, which are typically mild, though rarer forms such as SARS, MERS and COVID-19 can be lethal. Symptoms vary in other species. In chickens, they cause an upper respiratory disease, while in cows and pigs coronaviruses cause diarrhea. There are no vaccines or antiviral drugs to prevent or treat human coronavirus infections. Coronaviruses comprise the subfamily Orthocoronavirinae in the family Coronaviridae, in the order Nidovirales. They are enveloped viruses with a positive sense single-stranded RNA genome and a nucleocapsid of helical symmetry. The genome size of coronaviruses ranges from approximately 26 to 32 kilobases, the largest among known RNA viruses. The name coronavirus is derived from the Latin corona, meaning crown or halo, which refers to the characteristic appearance of the virus particles, virions. They have a fringe reminiscent of a crown or of a solar corona. Discovery of coronaviruses were discovered in the 1960s. 7. The earliest ones discovered were infectious bronchitis virus in chickens and 2 viruses from the nasal cavities of human patients with the common cold that was subsequently named human coronavirus 229E and human coronavirus HC43. 8. Other members of this family have since been identified, including SARS-CoV in 2003, HCoV NL63 in 2004, HKU1 in 2005, MERS-CoV in 2012, and SARS-CoV-2, formerly known as 2019 nCoV, in 2019. Most of these have been involved in serious respiratory tract infections.
The name coronavirus is derived from the Latin corona and the Greek koron, garland, wreath, meaning crown or halo. The name refers to the characteristic appearance of virions, the infective form of the virus, by electron microscopy, which have a fringe of large, bulbous surface projections creating an image reminiscent of a crown or of a solar corona. This morphology is created by the viral spikes, peplomers, which are proteins on the surface of the virus that determine host tropism. Proteins that contribute to the overall structure of all coronaviruses are the spikes, envelope, membranum, and nucleocapsid. In the specific case of the SARS coronavirus, see below. A defined receptor binding domain on S mediates the attachment of the virus to its cellular receptor, angiotensin converting enzyme 2ACE29. Some coronaviruses, specifically the members of beta-coronavirus subgroup A, also have a shorter spike-like protein called hemagglutinin esterase He. After cell entry, the virus particle is encoded and its genome enters the cell cytoplasm. The coronavirus RNA genome has a 5-methylated cap and a 3-polyadenylated tail, which allows the RNA to attach to ribosomes for translation. Coronavirus genomes also encodes a protein called a replicase, which allows the viral genome to be transcribed into new RNA copies using the host cell's machinery. The replicase is the first protein to be made. Once the gene encoding the replicase is translated, translation is stopped by a stop codon. This is known as a nested transcript. When the mRNA transcript only encodes one gene, it is monocistronic. The coronavirus non-structural protein provides extra fidelity to replication because it confers a proofreading function 10, which is lacking in RNA-dependent RNA polymerase enzymes. Alone the genome is replicated and a long polyprotein is formed, where all of the proteins are attached.
Transmission. Human-to-human transmission of coronaviruses is primarily thought to occur among close contacts via respiratory droplets generated by sneezing and coughing. Evolution. The most recent common ancestor MRCA of all coronaviruses has been placed at around 8000 BCE. 13. The MRCAs of the alpha coronavirus, beta coronavirus, gamma coronavirus, and delta coronavirus lines have been placed at about 2400 BCE, 3300 BCE, 2800 BCE, and 3000 BCE, respectively. It appears that bats and birds, as warm-blooded flying vertebrates, are ideal hosts for the coronavirus gene source, with bats for alpha coronavirus and beta coronavirus, and birds for gamma coronavirus and delta coronavirus, to fuel coronavirus evolution and dissemination. Bovine coronavirus and canine respiratory coronaviruses diverged from a common ancestor in 1951. Bovine coronavirus and human coronavirus OC43 diverged around the 1890s. Bovine Coronavirus diverged from the equine Coronavirus species at the end of the 18th century. The MRCA of human Coronavirus HCoV has been dated to the 1950s. MERS-CoV, although related to several bat coronavirus species, appears to have diverged from these several centuries ago. The human coronavirus NL63 and a bat coronavirus shared an MRCA 563 22 years ago. The most closely related bat coronavirus and SARS-CoV diverged in 1986. A path of evolution of the SARS virus and keen relationship with bats have been proposed. The authors suggest that the coronaviruses have been co-evolved with bats for a long time, and the ancestors of SARS-CoV first infected the species of the genus Hipposidirid, subsequently spread to species of the rhinolophid and then to civets, and finally to humans. Citation needed. Alpaca coronavirus and human coronavirus 229 diverged before 1960. Human coronaviruses are believed to cause a significant proportion of all common colds in adults and children. 11 coronaviruses cause colds with major symptoms, such as fever and sore throat from swollen adenoids, primarily in the winter and early spring seasons. Coronaviruses can cause pneumonia, either direct viral pneumonia or a secondary bacterial pneumonia, and may cause bronchitis, either direct viral bronchitis or a secondary bacterial bronchitis. The much publicized human coronavirus discovered in 2003, SARS-CoV, which causes severe acute respiratory syndrome SARS, has a unique pathogenesis because it causes both upper and lower respiratory tract infections. There are no vaccines or antiviral drugs to prevent or treat human coronavirus infections. 7 strains of human coronaviruses are known. Human coronavirus 229, HCoV 229, human coronavirus HCoV, HCoV 43, severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus SARS-CoV, human coronavirus NL63, HCoV NL63, New Haven coronavirus, human coronavirus HKU1, Middle East respiratory syndrome related coronavirus MERS-CoV, previously known as novel coronavirus 2012, and HCoV severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 SARS-CoV-2, previously known as 2019 CoV or novel coronavirus 2019. The coronaviruses HCoV 229, NL63, HC43, and HKU1 continually circulate in the human population and cause respiratory infections in adults and children worldwide. Severe acute respiratory syndrome SARS, main article. Severe acute respiratory syndrome in 2003, following the outbreak of severe acute respiratory syndrome SARS, which had begun the prior year in Asia, and secondary cases elsewhere in the World Health Organization WHO issued a press release stating that a novel coronavirus identified by a number of laboratories was the causative agent for SARS. The virus was officially named the SARS coronavirus SARS-CoV. Over 8,000 people were infected, about 10% of whom died. Middle East respiratory syndrome. In September 2012, a new type of coronavirus was identified, initially called novel coronavirus 2012, and now officially named Middle East respiratory syndrome coronavirus MERS-CoV 3435. The World Health Organization issued a global alert soon after. 36. The WHO update on 28 September 2012 stated that the virus did not seem to pass easily from person to person. 37. However, on 12 May 2013, a case of human-to-human transmission in France was confirmed by the French Ministry of Social Affairs and Health. 38. In addition, cases of human-to-human transmission were reported by the Ministry of Health in Tunisia. 2 confirmed cases involved people who seemed to have caught the disease from their late father, who became ill after a visit to Qatar and Saudi Arabia. Despite this, it appears that the virus had trouble spreading from human to human, as most individuals who are infected do not transmit the virus. 39. By 30th October 2013, there were 124 cases and 52 deaths in Saudi Arabia. 40. After the Dutch Erasmus Medical Center sequenced the virus was given a new name, human coronavirus. Erasmus Medical Center HCoV. The final name for the virus is Middle East Respiratory Syndrome Coronavirus MERS-CoV. In May 2014, the only two United States cases of MERS-CoV infection were recorded, both occurring in healthcare workers who worked in Saudi Arabia and then traveled to the US. One was treated in Indiana and one in Florida. Both of these individuals were hospitalized temporarily and then discharged. 41. In May 2015, an outbreak of MERS-CoV occurred in the Republic of Korea when a man who had traveled to the Middle East visited 4 hospitals in the Seoul area to treat his illness. This caused one of the largest outbreaks of MERS-CoV outside the Middle East. 42. As of December 2019, 2,468 cases of MERS-CoV infection had been confirmed by laboratory tests, 851 of which were fatal, a mortality rate of approximately 34.5%. Diseases caused coronaviruses primarily infect the upper respiratory and gastrointestinal tract of mammals and birds. They also cause a range of diseases in farm animals and domesticated pets, some of which can be serious and are a threat to the farming industry. In chickens, the infectious bronchitis virus IBV, a coronavirus, targets not only the respiratory tract but also the urogenital tract. The virus can spread to different organs throughout the chicken. 56. Economically significant coronaviruses of farm animals include porcine coronavirus, transmissible gastroenteritis coronavirus (TGE), and bovine coronavirus, which both result in diarrhea in young animals. Feline coronavirus. 2 forms. Feline enteric coronavirus is a pathogen of minor clinical significance, but spontaneous mutation of this virus can result in feline infectious peritonitis (FIP), a disease associated with high mortality. Similarly, there are 2 types of coronavirus that infect ferrets. Ferret enteric coronavirus causes a gastrointestinal syndrome known as epizootic catarrhal enteritis S, and a more lethal systemic version of the virus like FIP in cats, known as ferret systemic coronavirus FSC. 57. There are 2 types of canine coronavirus HCoV, one that causes mild gastrointestinal disease and one that has been found to cause respiratory disease. Mouse hepatitis virus MHV is a coronavirus that causes an epidemic murine illness with high mortality, especially among colonies of laboratory mice. 58. Pseudocriodinitis virus SDAV is highly infectious coronavirus of laboratory rats, which can be transmitted between individuals by direct contact and indirectly by aerosol. Acute infections have high morbidity and tropism for the salivary, lacrimal and arterial glands. 59. AHKU2-related bat coronavirus called swine acute diarrhea syndrome coronavirus SARS-CoV causes diarrhea in pigs. 60. Prior to the discovery of SARS-CoV, MHV had been the best studied coronavirus.